Our group chose the painting The Two Fridas by Frida Kahlo. Frida Kahlo was born on July 6, 1907 in Coyoacan, Mexico City, Mexico. She also died here on her 47th birthday. Frida attended the Escuela Nacional Preparatoria in Mexico. She was only one of a handful of girls who were admitted. In her early life, Frida aspired to become a doctor and continue her education. Her mother was not very fond of this idea and thought Frida was wasting her time when all she would end up doing is getting married and becoming a mother. Her father, on the other hand, promoted Frida's individuality, and as he was more progressive than his time, he would encourage Frida to continue her education and follow whatever dreams she had. She was also a major feminist icon. She constantly defied gender norms, even dressing in menswear for a family photograph, while her sisters and mother dressed in more acceptable dresses and skirts. Born with thick body hair, Frida refused to fix her unibrow or her light mustache, and, as exemplified in her work, she took pride in her natural body. At age 18, she was in a terrible bus accident. As a result of the accident, Frida's spine was broken in 3 places. She also had a broken collarbone and 2 broken ribs. Her right leg and foot were also crushed and shattered. After the accident, Frida's life consisted of many operations, infections, and an amputation, which caused her much social loss and emotional pain in her early life. She married famous muralist Diego Rivera in 1929. With this marriage, Frida would face many hardships, suffering through multiple infidelities and 2 tragic miscarriages due to her accident. Frida died in her childhood home, the Blue House. Although the cause was reported to be from pulmonary embolism, some believe it could have been suicide. This painting was finished sometime after her divorce with Diego Rivera. Diego and Frida's marriage was very unstable. Rivera was known to have many love affairs, and Kahlo had suffered multiple miscarriages. She suffered through periods of depression and endured physical and emotional pain for most of her life. These physical and emotional traumas resonate in many of her works. At the center of the painting are 2 distinct portraits of Frida Kahlo sitting next to each other on a bench, one wearing European garments and the other wearing Mexican garments. The most noticeable aspect of this painting is the 2 hearts that are visible in each of the Frida's chests. The Frida on the left has an open heart with all of the arteries depicted, while the Frida on the right has a closed heart. The Frida on the left seems to have cut her vein as she is holding surgical scissors and blood is pouring from the vein. The Frida on the right is holding a portrait of Diego Rivera. Both Fridas seem to have a vein extending from each heart that connects the 2, and another vein on each of the Fridas is wrapped around their arms connected to their wrist. The vein starts from the hand in which Frida is holding the picture of Rivera and ends broken in her other self, bleeding. The background is severely cloudy and dark. This image of the 2 Fridas is referring to the turmoil in Frida Kahlo's life. It is odd that Frida would paint 2 versions of herself unless she was referring to 2 aspects of her whole being. It serves as a metaphor to depict who she feels she is inside. As stated before, Frida Kahlo's life was very turbulent. Her strong, independent mentality was not common in the time she lived in, making her an iconic figure in history. Her painting The Two Fridas does not shy away from all the trials in her life, from sorrow to love. The stormy background in the painting is a metaphor for the storm she had to battle in her own life. Her rocky marriage, miscarriages, physical ailments, and identity issues. The 2 Fridas represent 2 different heritages she identified with, since her father was German and her mother Mexican. They are sitting together on the bench, holding hands, signifying the close connection she had with each culture. The vein from the right Frida starts in her hand, the same hand that holds the picture of Diego Rivera. This seems to indicate her deep love for her unfaithful husband, since this Frida has her heart intact. The Frida on the left, on the other hand, seems to be holding surgical scissors that have been used to cut the vein on her side. This Frida also has a heart that is horribly split in 2, showing all the arteries inside. These visuals, paired with her recent divorce from Rivera, seem to indicate that Kahlo's Mexican heritage, values, and culture were most compatible with Rivera's, whereas her European side was not. The use of surgical scissors alludes to her miscarriages, which also explain the storm clouds behind her. Overall, Frida's painting seems to be a figurative representation of the divorce. She painted herself twice with different visuals representing the conflict she went through, the doubt, and the need to find identity. Also, the union of the 2 Fridas in the midst of the storm behind them is shown in how they are holding hands and how the veins extending out from her heart are connected to both. This is a physical representation of the loneliness she must have felt after the divorce. However, in spite of her troubles, her gaze is strong. Overall, her painting seems to give a sorrowful yet hopeful message about her life. Frida Kahlo's painting, The Two Fridas, exemplifies resilience and deep sorrow. Her work alludes to many of her life's pains, and she depicts that pain beautifully. From her bleeding heart to her tight grasp on the man she divorced, Kahlo successfully captures the emotion of loss and loneliness and evokes the viewer's curiosity and empathy. Kahlo was without a doubt expressionistic in this work of art, effectively conveying her personal experiences and feelings visually. The mirror image of herself wearing two different styles of clothing, each from a different culture, represents the duality and conflict of her own identity. The outwardly visible hearts depicted what parts of her own identity were accepted and rejected, and how the divorce and miscarriages she faced left her wounded. The stormy background figuratively alludes to the troubles and misgivings she had. However, in spite of the sorrow, both the Fridas in the painting are holding hands, almost signifying that Kahlo has no one to rely on but herself. Her strong gaze from both aspects of her identity look on strongly towards the viewers, almost as if in silent resilience. These aspects of the painting are highly expressionistic, as she uses visual clues to allude to her troubles. Each and every aspect of this painting is an allusion to some part of her life. Is this work successful in conveying its message? Yes. The metaphorical placement of the hearts and the arteries, the placement of Rivera's portrait connected to the healthy vein, and the storms behind her all indicate an aspect of her life that she is trying to explain. The painting is full of visual features and metaphors that tell a personal story, and that makes it valuable. She is expressionistic in this work, using her visuals to tell a story. Each and every single part of the painting has meaning and context. The painting in general portrays her sadness beautifully, and viewers are able to empathize with her and her troubles. It gives the viewers a kind of oddly satisfying experience to see how she connected the little details with her personal context. Viewers can feel the tangible sadness and loneliness she feels through these visuals, and yet also feel somewhat relieved knowing that Kahlo was a bold woman who didn't shy away from visually portraying her emotions and personal life. Looking at this painting, viewers are bombarded with so many distinct visual features and left with curiosity. This work is full of Kahlo's personal life stories, which makes the painting that much more valuable. Looking into Frida Kahlo's life provides a context for this picture, and it is needed. Without it, many questions go unanswered. Her technical work cannot go unnoticed, as she precisely painted the human heart and its arteries inside, as well as included imaginary features that serve as an allusion to her thoughts and emotions. Her skill to create these lifelike portraits of herself, yet give them so many visual metaphors, is unbelievably brilliant. What she feels internally, she brings out through her painting, and that requires a level of subtlety. She wears her sadness beautifully. This piece, with all its nuances, gives viewers an oddly satisfying experience when they put context to Kahlo's painting. The main things Victoria noticed and admired about this painting were the vulnerability and boldness that went into it. She saw the two Fridas as representing a past and present self for Frida, and you can read her personal reaction in full here. Hannah noticed the emotional and complex nature of the painting first. She was intrigued by the fact that the nicely dressed Frida was the one with the damaged heart, and the Frida who is dressed more modestly had her heart intact. You can read the rest of her thoughts on this slide. Sonia said she was awed and inspired by this painting. She noticed the portrayal of both of Frida's cultures, as well as the identity issues that Frida was portraying through this artwork, which was a new idea that some of us didn't notice. You can read her reaction here. Olivia noticed the dark and stormy background first, and noted that the white clouds that covered some of the darkness, and she saw this as a hope of a new day to come. She also thought that the Frida on the left seemed to be giving blood, a life source, to the Frida on the right. To see what else she thought, read this slide. Sheena described this painting as unconventional and described the tone of this artwork as one that's insinuating pain, trouble, and sorrow. She also noted that the stormy background could represent Frida's turmoil, along with the broken and bleeding vein on the left Frida representing a broken identity. You can read her full reaction here to see the rest of her thoughts. Overall, I would say that we really just found this painting to be so expressive of literally everything Frida went through in her life. She kind of wrapped all of her troubles and all of her turmoils into one and just really beautifully expressed them all in one piece of art. And we really just wanted to delve into that more and kind of talk about, what we found interesting. And it was really interesting to see all of our different ideas and the different things that we picked up on. So we really enjoyed getting to look into this art and look into Frida's background too, and just kind of learn more about her. And we really enjoyed learning more about the art piece itself. So thanks.